This video will cover the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Office of Law Enforcement. I'm Nicholas, and this is the Law Enforcement Agency Information Channel. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Office of Law Enforcement, or FWS OLE for short, not to be confused with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Division of Refuge Law Enforcement, is a civilian staffed investigative United States federal law enforcement agency that falls under the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, or FWS for short, which falls under the U.S. Department of the Interior, or DOI for short, which is an executive department of the executive, which is a department of the executive branch of the federal government. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Office of Law Enforcement is responsible for investigating federal fish and wildlife crimes. They do this through the enforcement of federal statutes regarding fish and wildlife, such as the Lassie Act, the Endangered Species Act, the Migratory Birds Treaty Act, and much more. Specific duties of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Office of Law Enforcement include investigating federal fish and wildlife crimes such as federal poaching, federal illegal fishing, let's see, federal wildlife trafficking, arson on federally protected habitats, and much more. And then another duty of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Office of Law Enforcement is overseeing and regulating the interstate and international trade of fish and wildlife. And then, of course, there are multiple other duties. Additionally, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Office of Law Enforcement is also responsible for protecting the director of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, whom they directly report to. But yeah, that's really it for their responsibilities, and yeah. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Office of Law Enforcement reports to the Director of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, who reports to the Secretary of the Interior, who reports to the President of the United States, or POTUS for short. U.S. Fish and Wildlife special agents have authority to carry firearms, carry out warrants, and carry out arrests. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Office of Law Enforcement has domestic-wide jurisdiction throughout the United States and its individual territories to, number one, investigate federal fish and wildlife crimes, and number two, to protect the director of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Office of Law Enforcement derives its jurisdiction and authority from the laws it enforces, just like most federal law enforcement agencies. U.S. Fish and Wildlife special agents train for approximately 20 weeks at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center in Glencoe, Georgia. During those weeks, they go through courses such as the Criminal Investigators Training Program and much more. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Office of Law Enforcement works with multiple law enforcement agencies, including the U.S. Customs and Border Protection and the Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service for wildlife trafficking, EPA, OECA for eco-terrorism, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Division of Refuge Law Enforcement for crimes taken for federal fish and wildlife crimes taken on national wildlife refuge sites. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration Office of Law Enforcement for federally illegal fishing, the ATF for arson, and much more.